Hi everybody, I'm Bonnie Barker with Bonnie Bee Crochet, and I have a really fun summer project, or actually any time of the year project, but was designed primarily with the summer in mind. This is called Carolina Sun. Let me get a little close and show you. I'm going to go ahead and put a video of this in right here so that you can see how beautiful this is. And one thing that's great about this particular project is you're only crocheting one square at a time, so it's perfect to crochet when the weather is hot, and you can always save the squares until it starts to turn fall and then put them together so it doesn't overheat you as you work the project. I'm particularly excited because this project is using a very economically priced yarn by Paintbox. For all the information on your yarn requirements, please just check the video description below and check out those links. Also, if you're looking for the pattern, it is available at my Lovecraft store, and the link for that should be right there in the video description as well. If this is your first time to my channel, do me a favor and please hit the subscribe button. And if you like the project, definitely hit the thumbs up. That really does benefit me. And if you could hit that notification bell, you won't miss any of the new things that I have coming your way. Well, let me go ahead and show you how to crochet this. For this project, I'm going to be using Lovecrafts.com's Paintbox Yarns. This is an Aran weight, or a number 4. And each of these skeins that I'm going to be using have 201 yards, or 184 meters. This is 100% acrylic. And again, there's your number 4 icon. And as far as the number of skeins you will need, or yards for each particular color, just look at across the bottom of the screen, as well as in the video description below, and I will have that information listed there for you. It's also going to be listed on the pattern that is available in my Lovecrafts.com store. And so let me just show you, this is color number 1 that I'm going to be using, and it is color number 222. For color number 2, I'm going to be using a lighter color of yellow, and that is number 221. And then the next color number 3, is this tan, and this is color number 208. I'm just giving the specifics should you be interested in duplicating what I'm doing. And this is the number 4 color is number 209, and this is the color which I'm going to be crocheting my squares together with. I also just wanted to encourage you to be creative and choose the 4 colors that you would like to use for this project. Don't feel that you have to stick with the colors that I've chosen here. Okay, also, you're going to need 2 crochet hooks. I'm recommending size number I, or 9, or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. You'll be crocheting most of the square with this particular size hook. I'm also going to recommend that you have a 1 size smaller, or a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. This is also referred to as a size H crochet hook. And as always, if you could have a pair of sharp scissors as well as a yarn needle handy, you're going to be needing this to hide quite a few strands with this one. Before we get started, I wanted to go ahead and give you a vision of where we're headed, to show you, kind of what we're going to be making so that you can understand what we're going to be doing. So we're going to start with the center here in color number 1, and we're going to be working this ribbed center section here. And then after that, we're going to go to a perimeter round, then work 2 rows. We're going to switch from rounds here to rows here, only working on 2 sides with the low front ridge. And then we are going to transition to the woven stitch, and then another low front ridge, followed by the second part of the low front ridge. We're going to switch to color. This is color number 2, and this is going to be color number 3. And then we're going to work what I call the 4-post cable, or 4-stitch cable. And we are just going to continue that. And what makes this kind of unique is as we add stitches, we're going to actually be adding cables in that corner section. And then, of course, color number 4 here with the darker chocolate brown
brown, and then we're going to switch to a smaller crochet hook to work the single crochet perimeter round. And just to let you know, the number of stitches across each side once you finish should be exactly 41. That's very important that you have 41 single crochets on each side for crocheting this together. All right, well, let's go ahead and start. I am starting with my size I or 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. We are going to work that slip knot, and we're going to work 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to join with a slip stitch to the very first chain to form a ring. Slip stitch. We have our small circle. Chain 2. And now we're going to work 20 double crochets into the center. And this is probably going to be a good time for me to explain, if you haven't heard this before, explain how you can change the speed of the video just in case you want this to be a little bit slower. There's a little gear right down here. If you're watching the right-handed version, it's going to be over here for the lefty version. And if you just click on that little gear icon, it will bring up the menu where you can actually change the speed of the video. So feel free to click on that and slow me down if you need to. If you're starting to find yourself getting bored, speed it up for fun. Now, if you're working from a cell phone, it'll be 3 vertical dots up here. It'll be on this side for the lefty video. And if you just click on that, it will also bring up a similar menu for you to choose the playback speed, and just simply pick, like 50% or 75%, whatever that you want, and it will slow me down. And that works not just for this video, but for any of the videos on YouTube. Okay, let's go ahead and see how many double crochets we've made so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I have 7 more. I'm going to go ahead and finish these 7 double crochets. Okay, I have verified there are 20 double crochets in the circle. Now we're going to join to that first double crochet with a slip stitch. And I just want to say a word about the stitch count. It's very important that you stick with the same stitch count as I go around, because each round is dependent on the one previous. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of housework here and clip this loose strand, which I actually crocheted on top of, so it is well hidden amongst those 20 stitches. Now for round 2, chain 2, and we're going to work a double crochet corner this way. We're going to work 2 double crochets. Let me also state that the chains basically are not counted in the stitch count throughout this project. So when you look at the stitches here, you don't see 3 double crochets, you see a chain, which again doesn't count, but you have the 2 double crochets. I know that may sound confusing to some of you, but for those of you who read patterns consistently, understand that this can sometimes be counted as a stitch. It is not a stitch in this project. Okay, chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets, all worked in that same place. Okay, so now we have 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Work 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all double crochets. Now we're going to work another corner in that next stitch, which again, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets. And that's basically what we're going to work all the way around, but I'm going to go ahead and work it with you. 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. And then another corner, which is 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets. We're more than halfway around now. 1 double crochet in the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's time to make another corner. 2 double crochets, chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets. And then 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches, and that should bring us back home again. It's 3 and 4. After working that last double crochet, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first stitch, just like that. Now, instead of crocheting a turning chain at this point, we're going to actually work our way to the corner by working a slip stitch in the next stitch, and then a slip stitch into that corner chain 2 space. Chain 2. Now we're going to work half double crochets for the corners. For those of you who've never done a half double, wrap the hook just like you would for a double crochet, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Simple as that. Chain 2, and then 2 more half double crochets. 1, 2. Now we are going to begin front and back post double crochets. And if you've never worked a post stitch before, instead of working in through the top loops the way we did on the previous round, we instead wrap the hook and then bring the hook around the body. Okay, kind of going in the front and out the side for a front post double crochet. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, just like you would completing a regular double crochet. For a back post, we're going to wrap the hook. We're going to come in from the back side, go around the stitch, and then out the side door. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to alternate that all the way across each side. Yarn over, go in the front door, around the body of the stitch there, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then coming in the back door, wrapping it around the front and out the side, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. If you need additional stitch support on post stitches, I do have some stitch videos that you can check out, and go ahead and check the video description below, and I'll have some links for you should you need the extra help. So we're just going to alternate that all the way across. Front post double crochet, back post double crochet, front post, and back post. So after working all the way across, this is what you should have. Now it's time to form another corner. Now remember, we're doing half double crochets now for the corners. 2 half double crochets, chain 2, and then 2 more half double crochets worked in that chain 2 space, and then continue with the front post double crochet and then back post double crochet all the way to the next corner, and then just repeat the half double crochet corners. So go ahead and repeat that all the way around the square. Now before I complete the last couple of stitches, I just wanted to show you, here is that chain again that I have stated that it is not considered a double crochet or a stitch. You want to be careful that you don't work around this stitch. So after working that back post double crochet, I'm going to skip this chain and then work the front post double crochet in that next actual double crochet, and then a back post. Just want to make sure that you don't add additional stitches with that chain, because if you do, it's going to throw everything off, and that can be, I know, rather upsetting if you get down the road a piece with the project and the numbers aren't working out. Okay, so go ahead and join with a slip stitch. You're going to slip stitch to the corner again. And so that ends round 3. Let's go ahead and start round 4. Chain 2, And again, work a half double crochet corner, which is 2 half double crochets, chain 2, and 2 half double crochets. And now we start with those half double crochet corner stitches from the previous round. We start with a front post double crochet and then a back post double crochet. It's easy to see the other stitches now. We're going to work front post over the front post stitches and then work back post over the back post stitches. Front post, back post. Okay, I should have given you the stitch count. On round number 3, you'd have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 stitches across each side on round number 3. This round, you are going to have 16 stitches on each side or across each side. Okay, and if check the pattern, the written pattern that's available, that will have the stitch count also, should you need to verify it at any point. Okay, so, and then the last 2 stitches here, front post and a back post. Now after working all the way across, we're going to do another corner. 2 half double crochets, chain 2, and 2 half double crochets. Some of you may be wondering, why don't we just do double crochets for the corner? Well, if we did that, then the stitch would actually be taller and then the corners would start to become unusually pointy and again much taller than the stitches that are worked aside. Whenever you work a front post double crochet, it is approximately the equivalent height of a normal half double crochet. Okay, so go ahead and finish working this all the way around the square. As I'm making my way close to the end of this round, I just wanted to do another reminder that this is not a stitch, that is a chain 2, so we're going to skip that with our front. We go to our front post double crochet and then back post double crochet of this round, and we're going to join with a slip stitch, but we're going to slip stitch to the corner, and I'm going to get ready to change color, so I need to get color number 2. Okay, now that I have color number 2, I'm going to actually go ahead into the chain 2 and pull that through just like that. Now I'm going to do some dealings. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do a chain 1, and now I need to do something with these. I'm going to go ahead and trim color number 1, and I'm going to go ahead and just, I'm going to kind of knot these together so they don't become a problem later. And I'm going to go ahead and, I'm a knotter, okay? So if you are not into knotting your yarn and you have an alternate method, go ahead and feel free to use it, but I don't mind the knots. I can hide them pretty well at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and actually crochet over these. I'm going to crochet a single crochet, chain 2, let's go ahead and pull that out, and do another single crochet in that same chain 2 corner. And now I'm going to do a perimeter round of single crochets. Now make sure that that first stitch that we're going to work as we go across is in that first stitch. Sometimes it can become hidden by these stitches in the chain 2. So go ahead and make that your first stitch, and I'm going to continue to crochet over these loose threads and just single crochet in each stitch all the way across until you get to the chain 2 corner. I'm going to go ahead and just work this with you, and I'm still working over those loose strands. I think that's going to be enough. Let me go ahead and trim these very carefully. Make sure I don't trim my working yarn, just the excess. Okay, so now it makes it a lot easier to work across. And I'll give you the stitch count in just a minute. Okay, the stitch count is going to be 18. Okay, so that was the last stitch we crocheted in. That is the top right there of this stitch. If you crochet in this stitch, you're going to actually add stitch. So let me go ahead, and this is the chain 2 corner. We're going to make single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet. So let me show you how you need to be careful to count these stitches across. Okay, so this is our chain 2. So just counting the stitches that go across, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 stitches, and then another chain 2. So with this, each side is going to have 18 single crochets. That's very important as we go forward in this project. All right, so go ahead and work that in. And yes, just as a reminder, those 18 stitches are including those single crochets in both of the corners. So go ahead and work that row of single crochets all the way around your square. Just make sure as you work the last round that you do have a total of 18 stitches from corner to corner and not an extra stitch for that turning chain. Okay, so we're going to join with a slip stitch. Now we are going to chain 1. We are not going to slip stitch to the corner, and this is why. We are now going to begin the low front ridge, and we're going to do it in a very different way from some of my other patterns. Okay, we're actually going to skip this stitch, skip the chain 2 corner, and go right for the next stitch here. And this is just the front loop. We're going to do a slip stitch. Okay, and we're going to slip stitch just in that front loop. And we are only going to do this for 2 sides of the square. So we're actually making the transition here from rounds to rows in the pattern. And the reason we don't call them rounds anymore is they're not going all the way around. They are only going on 2 sides of the square. So we're just going to slip stitch in that front loop only. I just wanted you to see it worked all the way across, because I'm going to do something kind of strange once we get to the corner. Whoops, let's go ahead and make sure we don't lose the yarn there. Okay, so after we work the very last front loop of that single crochet, we're going to skip the corner for now. We're going to come back to it on the second part of this, but we're going to skip over this and go right to the next. It's the first single crochet on the other side of the square. Okay, we're going to work these all the way across. I'll go ahead and work these across, and then I'll show you what to do once you get to the end of this side. Now I'm going to work the last front loop of the single crochet, and then I'm going to work a slip stitch in the chain 2 corner, just like that. Okay, now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn. And we are not going to work in this chain 2 corner, but we're going to start by working in the remaining loops of those single crochets, and we're going to work single crochets across. Okay, so this is the remaining loop. We're going to work single crochets all the way across. I hope you can see where that loop is. This is a little tricky. I mean, this is definitely not a beginner project, but I think a confident beginner can learn these, but this is not the best kind of a project to start with, for sure. So we're going to just work these all the way across, and just again working single crochets, slip stitch on the first round of the low front ridge, and then this is single crochets on the second round. I'm saying rounds, rows, you know what I mean. Okay, having a hard time making that transition. Okay, and I'll show you the important part here. Okay, so make sure you do all of the stitches. It's very important. Now we get to the chain 2 that we had skipped before, right here. This is, we are going to definitely work in this. We're going to work a corner, single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet. in that corner, and then continue working those single crochets in each stitch just across the second side. I'll go ahead and finish these, and then I'll show you what to do once we're done. After working these all the way across, I worked only in the remaining loop of the single crochet. I am not working in the turning chain. Okay, so this is what we should have. And let's turn around and look at the front side, and you can see the nice ridge that leaves. Again, we have 19 stitches and 19 stitches. If you add those together, you're going to get 38 stitches of the row here. So we've gone ahead and worked our chain 2, and starting in the very first stitch, we're going to work the woven stitch. Now, usually in many of my past patterns, I will have you skip the first stitch, but we're actually going to work in the first stitch for this particular design. Now, what we do, we wrap the hook, insert into the stitch the way we normally would through those top loops, pull up a loop, yarn through one loop, yarn over the back, and pull through 2. That's half of the stitch. The other half, wrap the hook, insert the hook, pull up a loop, and then without even wrapping it again, we just pull through 2. It's a very interesting stitch. It is one of my favorite stitches that I like to use. Let me do many repetitions here for you so that you can get the hang of it. This is worked over every other stitch of a row of single crochets or double crochets. Okay, so we're going to skip the next stitch, and we're going to work a woven stitch in the next. Again, wrap the hook, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. That's half done. Okay, wrap the hook, insert into the same place again, pull up a loop, and then simply pull through 2. Let's do that again. Skip the next stitch and wrap the hook, insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, and pull through 2. Okay, I'm going to do that again. Skip the next stitch, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull through 2 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and work this all the way to the corner, and once you get to the corner, you should have a total of 10 woven stitches across. After working this across, I do have 10 stitches. Now, some of you may be a little concerned about how the edging looks here. Don't worry about that right now. We're going to work a perimeter round with color number 4 to finish off our square, and that's going to cover a multitude of issues that you may be seeing now. Okay, once we get to the chain 2, we're going to work a half double crochet, chain 2, and another half double crochet in that corner space. Notice we're just doing 1 half double and not 2 like we did down here. Okay, so now we're going to do this again across the other side. Yarn over, starting in the first stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. That's first half of the stitch. Wrap the hook, insert, pull up a loop, and pull through 2 loops. So go ahead and skip the next. So go ahead and work this woven stitch all the way across until you get to the next corner. Okay, the last stitch should be worked, or the last woven stitch should be worked in that very last single crochet of the row. And this is what you should have once this row is completed. Okay, you have a total of 10 woven stitches on each side, plus the half double crochet, chain 2, half double crochet corner. So I guess in total you'll have 20 woven stitches and 2 half double crochets. All right, now we're going to turn and we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. Now the following rows, when you're working in the woven stitch, is you're going to work in between the woven stitch. See those spaces in between them? I think it makes it easier to know where to work them. Okay, so just working in between, we're just going to wrap the hook, insert in between those two woven stitches, pull through one, yarn over, pull through two, wrap the hook, pull up a loop, and then pull through 2 stitches. Okay, so we're just going to work those in between the woven stitches. I'll work a few of them for you here. Again, if I'm going too fast, just hit that little speed control icon. You know where it is now, and you can always slow me down. Just wanted to show you it. Once you get this worked a few rows, the muscle memory does kick in, and it does become more of a natural feeling stitch. But I understand if this is your first time working this, it may feel pretty weird. Okay, so go ahead and work this to the corner. I'll go ahead and just finish it out with you. And each side you should still have 10 woven stitches. Okay, and let me show you where the last woven stitch is going to be worked in between the woven stitch in that half double crochet. So definitely need one there. After we do that, we're going to work a half double in that half double crochet, and then to the corner we're going to work a half double, chain 2, and I'm going to turn 90 degrees and do another half double crochet for that corner, and then a half double crochet in the top of the other half double crochet. So when you approach the corner after that 10th woven stitch on that one side, you're going to have half double, then the corner half double, chain 2, half double, and then another half double. Okay, and now to make the next woven stitch, it's going to be in between these 2 woven stitches here. So go ahead and work these all the way across this other side. At the end of row 9, we are going to work the last woven stitch in the chain 2 space, in between the space actually between the chain 2 and that last woven stitch. Okay. Now we're going to turn to begin row 10. We're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and again working in between the woven stitches. Go ahead and work another row of woven stitches. Go ahead and work these all the way to the corner. I'll show you what to do once we get to the corner. Once you've worked this close to the corner, I'm going to show you how to work to the chain 2. We're going to work a woven stitch in between the woven stitch in that half double crochet, and now we're going to skip this half double crochet and we're going to work our last woven stitch in the top of the next half double crochet. Okay, so we should have at this point 11 woven stitches from here to here. Okay, so now we're going to work the chain 2 corner, which is a half double crochet, chain 2, and a half double crochet. And we're going to do just like we did. We're going to skip the next half double crochet, and then here is a half double crochet, and then that's the woven stitch. Work the next woven stitch in the top of that half double crochet. And then the next woven stitch is in between these 2 woven stitches. And then we're going to work the woven stitches all the way across to the end, and then we'll work our last woven stitch in the chain 2 turning chain right here, and you should have 11 woven stitches across this side as well once you finish this row. So this is what you should have at the end of row 10. And now we're ready to go on to row 11. This is actually the 4th row of the woven stitch and the last row of the woven stitch. Chain 2, and then work those woven stitches in between the woven stitches to the corner, and then I will show you what to do for that corner. Okay, once we get to the corner, that last woven stitch will be between the woven stitch and the half double crochet. And then half double in the top of that half double crochet. And then now in the corner, we work a half double, chain 2, and another half double for that corner, and then a half double in the top of that half double crochet. And then, as we did before, work those woven stitches in between the woven stitches till we get to that chain 2. Make sure that you work a woven stitch in that chain 2 turning chain at the end of the row. So at the end of row 11, now this is with the back side facing, you should have 11 woven stitches and 2 half doubles on each side. So that's a total of 44 woven stitches and 4 half doubles plus that chain 2 corner. Let's turn and see what it looks like with the front side facing. Okay, now we are ready to work the row that's going to discontinue the woven stitch. And we start that with a chain 1, not a chain 2, just a chain 1. And this is actually going to gather the stitches in a little bit. I know it may look kind of stretched out and a little bit wonky on you here. That's kind of the nature of this stitch, but this next row to discontinue this stitch is going to kind of bring it a little more under control. Okay, we're going to simply work 2 single crochets in between each woven stitch. You can already see how this is kind of gathering it back a little bit. So go ahead and work that to the corner, and I will show you what to do once we get to that corner and how to turn it and so forth. Okay, I wanted to show you what to do here. We're going to work the last in between the woven stitch and the half double. Work 2 stitches there, and then 1 in each of those half double crochets. And then once we get to the corner, we're going to work 2 single crochets, chain 2, and turn 90 degrees, and 2 more single crochets in the corner. And then again, 1 in each of those half double crochets. And then starting in between the woven stitches again, work 2 single crochets in between the space in between those woven stitches, and then you're going to work 2 single crochets in that final chain 2 turning chain. But let me just give you the stitch count as you go. You should have 26 stitches total on each side, then the chain 2, and then 26 more single crochets. So go ahead and finish that row. So this is what you should have at the end of 12 rounds / rows, because we went from rounds to rows now. Okay, so now we're going to turn, and for row 13 and 14, we're actually going to work something called a low back rib. This was the low front rib, and the reason it was called that is because you start by working that slip stitch in the front loop. Okay, and it is on the low side. It's not a real high stitch, it's a low stitch. Okay, well, this is going to be the low back rib, and this is how we start this. We chain 1, and instead of working in the front loop, you guessed it, we're going to work in the back loop, and we're going to work a slip stitch just in that back loop all the way across. So some of you who have followed me for a while probably have never seen this stitch. I have only used it in a few of my designs, but it's kind of a nice stitch to use when you really don't want to add another row of another stitch to get back to where that other loop is facing you. So it's kind of a nice little device to fall back on for designers. Okay, so I'm working just in that back loop, again, working those slip stitches. And I'm going to show you what to do once you get all the way across. All right, almost there. And again, if you need to slow me down, feel free to do that. Okay, so the last stitch, you can see the single crochet there. That's the last stitch. Do a slip stitch, and we're going to skip the chain. Again, we're going to work back in that. So if you need to, look at the front side to see, gee, where is that next loop? The loop is right here. Okay, so the next loop that we're going to do is the first single crochet going the other direction on the other side. So go ahead and slip stitch there. And just remember, this is the chain 2 here, and we are going to work that on the pass coming back. And just work that slip stitch all the way until you get to the next corner. Again, working in that back loop only. Okay, before working the last slip stitch, I'm actually going to go ahead and get color number 3, which is right here, and go ahead and slip that through for that last slip stitch. I've actually gone ahead and cut color number 2, and I'm going to go ahead and just give it a simple knot. Okay, so that it doesn't get away from me. All right, that's good enough for now. Now we're going to turn, and now we're ready to give it a chain 1, and we're going to be working in the remaining loops only. We're going to work single crochets in the remaining loops. Hopefully you can see this, and if you're not quite sure, you can turn it around with the back side facing, and you can see where the single crochet is, and it's just the little loop right there. Okay, and another one there. So that's what I am working in. I know that can be a little bit challenging if you've not worked projects like this before, but honestly, once you get past the learning curve, it becomes a lot more fun, and certainly not boring, because we do change stitches quite often in these squares, which is something I really enjoy doing instead of, doing the same thing over and over again. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and work these single crochets all the way to the corner. Once I get to the corner, I will show you what to do. So I've worked in all the back loops of those single crochets. Now I've come to the chain 2 corner, and it's a little bit of a tight space, but you can find it. We're going to work single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in that same chain 2 space, and then we are going to work single crochets all the way to the next corner, and that will end our row. But before I do that, let me give you the stitch count right away. Okay, going across from corner to corner, and that's including this single crochet that makes up this corner. There are 27 single crochets. That's very, very important. You're going to need to have 27 on both sides of the square going forward, because that's going to greatly impact what we do from this point on. Okay, so go ahead and finish those single crochets. I did want to show you that the last stitch is right here along the edge, and this would be an excellent time. Again, I know I'm being redundant, but go ahead and count to make sure you have 27 stitches from the corner all the way across, because if you don't, it's going to be an issue. All right, so now for the next row, we are going to chain 2, and this is row, see, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. This is row 15, if I'm counting right. If not, there will be a correction down across the bottom there. And we're just going to work a chain 2 and double crochets in each stitch across. So go ahead and work those double crochets, and I will show you what to do for the corner. Okay, once you get to the corner, you should have crocheted 27 double crochets, and now for the chain 2 corner, we're going to do 2 more. So 2 double crochets, making the total on each side 29 double crochets. And for that chain 2, we have 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets in that corner. Okay, and then 1 double crochet in the remaining 27 stitches across. So go ahead and work those all the way across, and just again, just to reiterate, you should have 29 double crochets across each side once we finish this row. We're going to chain 2. We're going to work a double crochet in the very first stitch. Now we are going to begin the 4-post cable, and this one works with treble crochet. So we wrap our hook 2 times. Now we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and we're going to front post treble crochet, which is like a front post double, but it's a treble. So we pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to do that in the next stitch as well. Front post treble crochet. Now working in front of these last 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble crochet in this stitch and then in this stitch. And this is where the cables are crossed. It's as simple as that. Of course, that doesn't look like much of a cable right now, but it'll look a little better once we get a couple of these rows worked. And we're going to do that all the way to the corner. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Working in front of these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. Just like that. All right, so let's go ahead and just work that all the way across to the corner. After working that all the way across, you should have used all of the stitches in the row. Now we come to the chain 2 corner, and we're going to work 2 double crochets, chain 2, and then turn 90 degrees, and then 2 more double crochets in that chain 2 corner. And then we begin this again. Skip the first 2 stitches, and then front post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches. Working in front of these last 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble, starting with that first stitch in the corner, and then the next stitch. And we're going to work this all the way across to the next corner. Skip 2, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of those 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches. After working that all the way across, you should have 1 double crochet stitch left. Work a double crochet in the top of that stitch, and that will end the row. You should have 7 cables on each side, a double crochet here, 2 double crochets in the corner, and then on the other side, the 2 double crochets again in the corner, and the 7 cables, and 1 double crochet here. Again, this chain 2 does not count. Chain 2 does not count as a stitch in the stitch count. Okay, so now we're ready for row 17. Chain 2, and this is with the back side facing you, half double crochet in that first stitch. And now we are simply going to work back post double crochets all the way across. And the stitch count should remain the same, except that we are going to add additional stitches in the corner. Okay, so go ahead and work those back post double crochets all the way across, and then I will show you the corner. Once you get to the corner, work half double crochets in those 2 double crochets from the previous row, and then in the chain 2 corner, 2 half double crochets, chain 2, I'm going to turn 90 degrees, and then 2 more half double crochets right there in that chain 2 corner, and then half double crochets in those next 2 stitches. So let me just give you a look at the corner here. Now we're going to work back post double crochets until we get to the next corner, and then I'll show you what to do. So go ahead and continue working those. At the end of the row, work a half double crochet in that last stitch, which is the double crochet we're not working in the turning chain. And let's go ahead and turn, and this is what you should have across 2 sides of your square. Now we're going to work another chain 2, and this is row number 18. Go ahead and work a double crochet in that first stitch. Notice that when the front side is facing with this stitch, that you're going to work a double crochet for those additional stitches. When the back side is facing, you're going to work a half double crochet. Okay, so now we're just going to do a repeat of what we did 2 rows before. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Now working in front of the last 2 stitches here, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. And you can see it does more resemble a cable at this point. Okay, now we're going to do that all the way across until we get to the corner. Let me go ahead and share that again. Skip 2, front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Working in those last 2 stitches, working in front of those, we work the 2 stitches that we skipped, working front post treble crochets. Okay, so go ahead and work that across to the corner, and I will show you how to work the corner. Now that we have come to those corner stitches, let me show you how to work the next 4 stitches, since we have enough here to work another cable. So we're going to skip these 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, and you can see that brings us right up to the chain 2 corner. Working in front of those 2 stitches, front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. So we should have, once I finish this stitch, okay, so now we're actually going to have 8 cables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 crossing of the cables on this row on each side. And when we get to the chain 2, we're going to work 2 double crochets. Whoops, let's try that one again. I worked half double crochets without thinking. 2 double crochets. There we go. Thought I'd leave that mistake in there for you just to help entertain you there in case you're getting bored. And 2 more double crochets in that chain 2 corner. So just to reiterate, it's double crochets for these corners. When the front side is facing, when the back side is facing, it's half doubles. It's to match the height of the stitches that are being worked. Okay, so now we have the next 4 stitches on this other side, and we're going to do the same thing. Skip 2 stitches, front post treble in those 2 stitches that were skipped. And working in front of these 2 stitches, front post treble in those 2 skipped stitches. Okay, then we're going to just continue on with our cables down the other side of this. Go ahead and finish this up, this particular cable up for you, and then I will show you what the corner should look like, because I don't want to leave any doubts or leave you wondering what you should do with these added stitches. Okay, so there you go. It's a good view of the corner because we've added in a cable here and a cable there, bringing the cable count up to 8 on each side. Plus we have 1 double crochet here and 2 double crochets here in the corner. Okay, so we have 8, so that's 8 times 4 is 32. I'm sorry, 8 times 4 is 32. That's right, 33, 34, 35. So she should have 35 stitches along each side, not counting the chain 2. I'm going to have my number 4 color handy here because I am actually going to switch it out as we work that last double crochet. I'm going to switch to the darker color before I do that last step of that double crochet. Okay, now I need to stop a minute and do some work here, getting rid of color number 3. I'm going to go ahead and do my knotting. Okay, so that's a little bit of a loose knot, but it's good enough to let me go forward here. Now we are going to turn, and just like 2 rows earlier, we're going to chain 2. We're going to work a half double crochet in that first stitch, and we are going to work back post double crochets all the way across to the corner. And let me just talk you through this. Once you get to the corner, we're going to work half double crochet, and the corner will be 2 more half double crochets, chain 2, 2 half double crochets. But I'll show that when I get to that point. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of a preview. So go ahead and finish working these back post double crochets all the way across to that corner. So again, we get to the corner, we're going to work half double crochets in those 2 stitches, and then 2 more half double crochets in the chain 2 space, chain 2, I'm going to turn 90 degrees, and then 2 more half double crochets, and then 2 more or 1 half double crochet in each of those 2 stitches, going down the other side, and then continue with the back post double crochets. This row ends by working a half double crochet in that last stitch. Let's turn, and you can see how that yarn is changing to the darker color. Now we're going to do another chain 2, double crochet in that first stitch, and again we're going to be working cables just like we did in this row and this row here. But as we get to the end of the corner, we're going to be adding an additional cable here, just like we did down here 2 rows below. Okay, so by the time we go across this side, you should have a total of 9 cables crossed. Okay, so go ahead and work that with the 9 cables crossed, and then when you get to the corner, we're back to working double crochets in the corner. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, just like we worked here with the double crochets with the front side facing. So go ahead and work that across. This row ends with a double crochet in the top of that last stitch, just to show you the corner. Make sure that you do have double crochets worked there as well. Okay, now we're going to turn, chain 2. We're going to work a half double crochet in that first stitch, and then back post double crochets all the way across to the corner. So go ahead and work that. I do have something different for you to do once you get to the corner, so don't do the corner until I show you. Okay, once we get to the corner, we are going to work half double crochets in those 2 stitches, and now we get to the chain 2. We're just going to work 1 half double crochet in that corner, chain 2, and then 1 half double crochet. Just wanted to make sure that you don't put 2 there, because that's going to throw our stitch count off. And then half double crochet in those other 2 stitches, and then continue to work the back post double crochets over those cables all the way across the row. Now at the end of this row, you should have from here, not counting the chain 2, remember we're not counting that as a stitch, from the double crochet that you half double crochet that's crocheted here all the way across to the one that's crocheted here in the corner, you should have 40 stitches per side. So that's going to be a total of 80 stitches plus the chain 2. for the total stitch count, but just make sure that you have 40 stitches per side. This row ends with a half double crochet in the top of that last stitch. Okay, now we're going to turn, and we do have one more thing to do, and that is working a perimeter round around the entire perimeter. So what we're going to do is we are going to change to the smaller hook. This is by H or 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. I'm going to give it a chain 1, and I'm going to work single crochets in each stitch all the way across to the corner. So go ahead and work single crochets, and I'll show you how to work that corner. Okay, after working those single crochets all the way across that side, you should have 40 stitches. And now when we get to the chain 2 corner, we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet in that stitch. Okay, and then begin working those single crochets all the way across. So just make sure that you have 41 stitches across each side of your square. After working those all the way across, now we are going to be working along the row ends. And I'm going to just work this with you just to make it simplified. Okay, so chain 2, and we're going to work a single crochet in the same place as that last single crochet was worked, forming that corner, and then a 1 single crochet in the next row end. Now working around the double crochet, I'm going to work 2 single crochets, and then the next row in, 2 single crochets, and the next row end, which is that double crochet. Got that knot to hide. I'm going to pull that to the back, and the next row end, 2 single crochets, and the next row end, 2 single crochets, and the next row end, 2 single crochets. So let's get a quick count just to verify. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. You should have 14 stitches there. Okay, go ahead and work 1 more. So that makes 15. And now working in the woven stitches, work 1 in each row end. So that's 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21 stitches. Okay, so working over these rows here. Okay, the 4 post cables through the woven stitch, you should have 21 stitches. Now we have 20 more to work, and if you work in both of the chain 2 corners and in each stitch across here, that will be a total of 20, bringing our total to 41, which is what we need to match the other sides. So go ahead and work those next 20 stitches, starting with the corner and then 1 in each single crochet. So that's just an easy way to have the equal number of stitches worked along these remaining sides. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and work this to the corner. Once I get to that corner, I'm going to work single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in that chain 2 corner, turn, and don't forget this first stitch right here, and then work those next stitches across that square portion. Okay, after having worked 20 single crochets across this section, and do verify that you have 20. Now it's time for us to go. We're going to work 1 in each row end of the woven stitch rows. There should be actually 6 stitches. Let's go ahead and make sure that knot goes towards the back. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1 more. Let's just make sure that knot is out of the way. 6, and we're going to hide that later. Now we're going to work in the post, 4 post rows. We have 1 in that space, and then 1 in that double crochet row end, and then 2 in this row end, and then it's basically 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 in each row end. And I will verify the stitch count with you. Okay, now this is the last double crochet or half double crochet row end, and then work 1 more in that very first, that space, along with that very first single crochet worked, chain 2, and then we're going to work a slip stitch to form a corner. But let's do a verification on the stitch count. We know that we have 20 to this point. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. Okay, and then of course these are the chains. So we do have 41 stitches on every side of the square. So let's go ahead and give it a chain, give it a tug, and find my handy dandy scissors here. Go ahead and give it a nice generous strand and give that a tug. So let's go ahead. Of course, nothing has been blocked. It may not need blocking until possibly after it's constructed. It all depends on your preference there. And it may not even need blocking after that, but we'll just wait and see. But this is the square that we just finished together. So all you need to do now is to make 19 more of these squares if you're going to make a blanket the same size as mine. Now, obviously, if you want to make a smaller blanket, choose a smaller multiple of squares. If you want to make your blanket larger, just make more squares until you get the square footage that you want for your particular blanket. Okay, we'll go ahead and make 19 more of these. Okay, let me just give you a really quick tutorial on how to hide some of these loose ends. Okay, I'm using my yarn needle, or you can use a darning needle, which would be a similar style needle but in metal. I like the plastic ones. So now I am going to simply run this under the stitches that, that are similar colors to the threads that are being hidden. That's just generally a good principle to follow. Okay, so I can probably run them under all of these. Let's see. Okay, let's give it a nice little tug. Okay, see how quickly that there it is. That ugly knot is now hidden, and I pull back on it just a little bit and take my sharp scissors. Be very careful. You want to cut close to your work, but don't cut the actual work. And you can push that around there, and the yarn and the knot is securely hidden. Okay, so now I have a couple more strands on this to hide, and I will go ahead and do those, but I just wanted to go ahead and show you how you can hide these. And let's see, let me show you this one too. You can hide it inside your work as well. I'll show you how to do that. You don't have to just be limited to the perimeter. I know sometimes you can run out of yarn and have a knot in the middle of your work, and you can do the similar thing there. Okay, so I'm going to bring this actually under these stitches here. And again, these are common colors that I'm hiding. Okay, and the goal here is to do this on the back side so that it doesn't show on the front side of your work, obviously. And if you just wanted to hide one strand at a time, you're free to do that as well. Sometimes if I can get away with hiding 2 at a time, I prefer that. It just saves me time and it makes it a little more efficient. Okay, so let's go ahead and give that a tug. Okay, and give it a little pull back. And that is also hidden pretty securely. Let's go ahead and trim. Remember, close, but not too close. There we go. And pull back on that, and that is hidden as well. So I hope you enjoy that. Again, go ahead, and this is 1 down, 19 to go.